Hey, welcome back to the Harbor Site. I told you we were gonna keep going with this. I am really excited about this one. But before we get started, as you guys know, Miss Alison Capra here producing the episode, and then Johnny Slicks. Hey guys, who has a ton of flair.
Johnny's here
today, and then our good friend, the guest on the show is going to be Fritz. And how are we addressing you these days?
Fritz is fine.
No more gunnery sergeant or
Oh God, no, that's way behind me.
Which
dude.
Bro dude is good.
Bro dude.
So he just retired from the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's quite a feat, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And it feels good to be a civilian, doesn't it?
It feels amazing to be a civilian.
And you got a good job, and things are cranking, right?
Everything, I'm getting healthy. Lots of retrospect, introspect. I'm backed by a great woman. Kids are happy. Everything's great, really.
Good. Now he just needs to read my book.
Yeah, I do. Read his book.
So, today's episode is about what?
Toxic masculinity.
And this kind of all came about because I don't really remember when, but it was a months ago?
Yeah,
That,
months ago. Mm-hmm.
A marketing company with Gillette actually reached out to me and
15 weeks to be exact.
Oh wow, 15 weeks ago, and wanted me to do some marketing with them. So I took their money and ran. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, sell out! How could you back such a toxic masculine, anti-masculine company?" And
To be fair, we didn't even see the ad.
oh, I didn't know about this commercial. So we just watched the commercial, and Fritz, you had already seen it, right?
I had, yeah.
Prior to?
I saw it when it came out, yeah.
At the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's Super Bowl.
And you had seen it prior
I had
to.
seen it, yeah.
Yeah, we had not seen it prior to this marketing thing that we did. And then all of a sudden we did it, and then like the deep-seated hate started to flow. And you
like
guys can go
20,000 comments strong kind of shit. Like,
well, they were using an advertising tool on the back end to share the post and run marketing advertising behind it. They actually used Josh Bridges as well, and he did one as well. And the same thing, hate.
Sure.
Hate. So I was like, wow, what is going on, man? This is it's just deodorant.
because the
your
ad.
fault.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you did it.
They did that ad. It's your fault.
So Johnny came to me and he's like, I'm like, what is going on? Not that I care, but he like, what is going on? He goes like, well, it's from that ad. And I was like, what ad? So I saw the commercial, which we just watched before hitting play.
Yes.
And I watched once Johnny told me, I watched it, and before you turn the video off, hold your keyboard.
Just hold on.
Hold on, let me get
Let's
through
talk
this.
about this
Yeah,
for a
we're gonna
second.
talk about it.
Like grown-ups.
Initially, I didn't have a big heartache with it. Overall, like
With the commercial or with the idea of toxic masculinity?
the commercial.
Oh, okay.
Their commercial, it didn't like offend me. It didn't like make me.
You were like, are you sure this is the one? That
I'm like,
everybody
this
says
is
about?
You were like that. You were like,
Yeah, what's
this
wrong
can't
with
be-
it?
Like,
Yeah,
okay,
what's wrong?
Like, I don't understand. What
Be
are you
better.
upset? Yeah.
do better.
Do better.
Why are people
I
trying to
tell
kill me?
myself that every day. Do better.
Damn personal growth.
Yeah. And anyways, so everybody was like, "You're a sellout," and let me just get something straight real quick. Yes, I sold out all the way to the bank. I took their money, put it in my bank account, and bought my 17-year-old a car. Like, I have no shame in that whatsoever. It's like Metallica when they cut their hair and shave their beards off. Everyone's like, "You guys are fucking sellouts."
It was after they did the Napster thing. It's when everybody really hated it.
but it's like
I'm just joking. I play a lot of Metallica on my own guitar.
Who's the lead singer?
Alexa,
oh man,
what's
who's
the lead singer of Metallica?
Everybody's gonna hate us now. Let's edit that out.
Edit it out. Lars is the drummer. He was the one who did all that.
James Hetfield?
Okay.
James Hetfield.
So he
There you
said,
go.
he goes, "You're absolutely right. We sold out every concert we've ever played."
Well, I think that you're in a precarious situation where people are going to hate. Hating is like a thing, right? And
Yeah.
but you've done well. I think you're doing personal growth, and I can say that I was still in the community while you guys were helping me, so I was kind of walking this thin line, right? Because there's even some, there's dynamics there.
Right.
All I know at an individual basis is you guys helped me through a tremendously hard time with open arms, no judgment. And that was really my stepping stone to getting to where I am today, was somebody actually going, I get it.
Giving a shit.
Giving a shit.
Yeah.
I get it. Come with us.
Yeah.
Don't worry about everything. Have a good time and let's talk.
So with this commercial, like, this really and obviously there's a whole Me Too movement and the I don't know what you want to call it, babe.
Feminine agenda?
Yeah, I didn't want to say feminist because it's not necessarily that. It's a little bit more than that. But this commercial, basically, the way that I guess not the majority, but a very large group of men took it was like anti-men.
I think one dude took it that, and then his buddy took it that way too after he.
And then his buddy, and then his buddy, and then they didn't even see the
because it really
commercial.
did snowball effect.
Yeah.
You didn't it didn't get that big
So
until people.
It was
were
crazy. Yeah.
So let's talk about the commercial.
Okay.
Let's just talk about the commercial. Overall, I don't have a problem with it. I think I have one problem with the commercial.
Well, can I read this really quick?
Yeah.
Because I just want to get everybody caught up to speed. If you didn't see it, if you don't know what we're talking about,
Go watch
this is
it.
the Washington posted a great little review about kind of the way Procter & Gamble was trying to assess this whole thing. So for 3 decades, Gillette promised its customers the best man can get. An individual, assertive, always clean shaven. This was the vision of masculinity depicted in that campaign that debuted January 1989, Super Bowl, whatever that was. The early days of the George W. Bush administration, the end of the Cold War, it was the last year of the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
All great things.
Promoting Gillette's top-of-the-line After Razor, the 60-second spot portrayed variations of a single theme, a white man scoring, whether at the office or on an athletic field, with a woman. The specific location it was evoked was Wall Street, the arena of the ultimate alpha male. Now, Procter & Gamble, the maker of Gillette, is out with this new ad, We Believe, that challenges the image of masculinity once promoted. The consumer goods company, whose net sales is $66.8 billion last year, has ignited a debate about gender, cultural branding, as well as the power exercised by multinational corporations in shaping evolving ideas about family relationships in the Me Too era. Bullying, the Me Too movement, toxic masculinity. The headlines resounded as men, black, white, young, and old, peer themselves into the mirror. Is this the best man can get? Asked the narrator of the ad. Released on Sunday in the YouTube, shared then again on Twitter, which now the commercial's over 30 million views on YouTube.
Which is like 20-something million over their most viewed other commercial that's on their YouTube channel.
Right.
So it's like...
It was powerful. Clearly,
Yeah.
it's a powerful message.
Yeah.
It's not just a commercial.
And it's really kind of a mini movie, mini short. It's not really like just a commercial. I mean, it was kind of like played out. And then even the ones they did thereafter were kind of similar. They've kind of tried to create a little bit more of a story with it,
Yeah.
right? So just as a decision by Nike to, the whole thing came out with Kaepernick and all that stuff, the approach Procter & Gamble incensed by viewers is none more than the men's rights activists who vowed to boycott Gillette.
Sure.
So it's getting ripped apart on one end and then on the other. I thought one of the funniest things that I possibly could have read was, I just thought it was funny as a female. Some woman tweeted on her account, ads for women, be thin, be thick, love your body, love your boobs, make your boobs bigger, dye your hair, embrace your grace, wait, don't embrace your grace, pants are slimming, be feminine, wear makeup, look natural, hide your age. Women go, okay. And then Gillette, men should be less shitty. Men, don't tell us what to do.
It's true, though.
It is.
That was pretty funny.
It is, and that's my whole thing with it is like, so people that got outraged with this commercial, and as I said, there's one problem that I had with it that stood out to me, but people that had a problem with this commercial, I'm like, I feel like there's what being a man is confusing to some people. I view it as, and especially older as I get in age, I view it as taking care of your family, respecting others, taking care of people, overall being respectful. Like catcalling women is not masculine. Like, I don't know where that they got confused, because that's what it was. Like, hey, dude, that's not cool. Like, don't do that. Like, that's not cool. You think that you're gonna pick up a chick doing that? It's not the way it works.
Yeah.
You know, that's not smooth. So like, yeah, be a better man, be more honorable, have some morals, you know, and take care of your family. Like, have some. Like, you know, I mean, sometimes you have to get on, you know, for us veterans.
Yeah.
You gotta take the safety.
Oh, I gotta take the safety off.
Gotta go high another right.
There we go. Sometimes you gotta get
high another right.
You gotta get a little crazy, right? But at the end of the day, you know, like, I have daughters. I want them to be treated with respect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand where that shift came that wasn't being a man.
Yeah, so I thought a lot. First of all, thank you for inviting me on the show. It means a lot to me that you think that I have something worthy to say. But I'll try my best. I think that you know, that commercial was released at a very tense of time in American history, right? I think we were on this momentum where everything was great, and then the current administration really inflamed a lot of polarizing ideas. And then this thing came in, and I think it's a positive message, by the way. I think the whole thing is a positive message. And when we get more into the conversation, I'll talk about me at 25 years old and how I would have been a dude blowing you up.
Right. And I'm the same. I'm the same way.
Right. But I think that it was timed so. I don't know if it's poorly or it was a great marketing move because they knew it was going to create all this discussion. Like, they're really trying to make a movement, right?
I think it was genius.
Yeah, I think it was genius, right? And they knew what they were doing because you want to get discussion moving. I mean, that happened.
We're talking about it right now.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Months
later.
And they're not paying for this.
Yeah,
so this is free marketing.
And also, like, us, right? We come from a very tight warrior culture for decades, and we're talking about
that's not always respectfully.
Yeah, right. I mean, if somebody was going to paint the picture of a toxic masculine man, right, it would be us.
Yeah, go put 14 dudes in Afghanistan for 9 months.
Right.
You're
And
be
sometimes
cavemen.
Sometimes that toxic masculinity is needed in certain instances. I really believe that, right? Like when you're in Mortal Kombat.
You need that kind of mentality.
Needs to kick
right. I mean, that is
like, limit.
There is no safety. There is no catch. Like, the only thing you have is being a savage, and that comes off as being toxic masculinity, right? And there's no balance in those types of environments either. It's just extreme all the time. And so, you know, I not only did I retire, but I'm a father of a daughter as well. She's 12 years old, which is a really weird age for girls, you know.
Mine's 12 as well.
Yeah, so you know, I mean, you probably feel the pain, right? They're trying to figure out social media. That was something we didn't deal with as kids, not at this level.
The environment has changed.
Yeah, every kid has an Instagram. Every kid has a handle. Every kid has a Facebook. Or now they think Facebook is old, like my kids tell me. Although I'm like the Facebook king, but like. You know... That's
where Grandma hangs out.
Yeah. I make all the grandmas laugh. Yeah. It's my audience, right? So, to a target. So they're dealing a lot more with, like, this broader range of society than we ever did. And so it's very easy for them to do the right thing or the wrong thing because that phone has a lot of reach. So
I mean, we see it now with school too. Like phone, even a phone at school causes lots of drama. Like certain things.
2018 was the year of the dick pic, right? Which, by all measure, is especially an unwanted, like, you know, totally. Any woman who lives now, who has any type of presence, has had unsolicited dick pics sent to her, and that probably happens all the way back to like 10 years old now.
Which is mind-blowing.
Which is something that we never even thought of thinking about as kids. I mean, I guess if you, like, streaked the quad as a kid, that was like the equivalent. But now, 2019, we've turned this corner where states are making it illegal to send dick pics. It's like a Class C misdemeanor in some states. I don't know. I'm probably misquoting that, but I think Texas, is one of the first states to outlaw unsolicited sexual pictures.
Sexual harassment. Yeah.
Right? So I think that it is very important right now in our society to start addressing. I don't like the term toxic masculinity, and I think that when you use the wrong language and that connotation kind of polarizes, I think that there is a masculinity that is needed, and then there are a lot of times that guys overstep it and it becomes toxic when it affects other people.
Right.
But that toxicity is also relative, right? So if you were raised by a great man who was respectful and treated you with respect, you may have more or less tolerance to some guy being toxic, right? Whereas...
Which she was, and she does.
Right. Because you can go, hey, hold on a second. You can stand on your own 2 feet because you've had the right example growing up, right? You're rearing. And so the same is true with the opposite. You know, the girl who maybe was abused, which happens a lot. It's scary how much women get abused. I mean, it's scary.
Yeah,
There's like human trafficking in America, right? That's like the far extreme, but we're talking like everyday interaction with the Gillette commercial. So that girl, the one that was less fortunate, maybe didn't have the right.
So she's the polar opposite on.
Yeah, right. I mean, so that word toxic is relative. It's a sliding scale based on everybody's individual opinions and ideas and experiences growing up, and so I could be the same person to 2 different people, and one would say
he's too much.
He's too much. He's toxic, and this one's like, no, he's fine. Like I get it's like, you know, I get what he's doing. I think that's where especially men in the military kind of are shield maidens, right? They understand us because we get around our family and it's like, and our family's like looking at us. It's like, okay, hold on. Like, it's just him being him, you know, he doesn't mean anything, but I just went through it this weekend, by the way. So my family who's mad at me, he'll come back around. You know Uncle Fritz is right. So
I want to know what happened.
it's a long story.
Let's feel that on your back.
It was a lot of roosters, a young rooster and an old rooster butting heads. But anyway, so I think that the term it can be polarizing if it's used point blank. If you just shoot it out the barrel, it's very polarizing. And so guys are going to have, well, there's nothing wrong with me, right? It's hard in a message like that was so widespread in a Super Bowl to say on the back end, yeah, and if the shoe fits, wears it.
Yeah.
That message is hard to convey. So people are automatically like, there's nothing wrong with me. Why would you're making me feel like I'm doing something wrong by the way I live my life? And then that's where you get it. And then it takes a little bit of like a G2, you know, a little bit of like contextual understanding of that message to say, no, we do make mistakes. Yeah. Like societally, we're only coming around to women in the workplace getting the respect they deserve. It's different than the way we do things, but it's just as valuable.
Right.
But the old days, like that commercial, not even the old days, it happens now in the workplace where a woman is trying to give she's usually the minority in those higher level positions. It's just the way it is, and hopefully in the next 20 years, it's all even Steven.
But Drew, you did some research on that, and you said it's actually because women don't ask.
Well, that has to do with pay scale.
Yeah.
I think more than anything, the reason why women make less, it's personally what I believe, that women make less than men because they don't ask for raises.
Sure, and because they don't want to be viewed a certain way.
Right. They don't insist. They don't, like a man walks in and insists, this is why I'm valuable.
Whether it's good or not.
Yeah, whether it's good or not. And I think that's part of, you know, I think that across the board, like whether it's the workplace or the military or whatever, there's a standard, right? Like I see eunuchs as far as that is concerned. Yeah. And
can you do the job?
Can you do the job? That's all I care about. I don't care. I don't care where you came from or what you did. I was a poor. I mean, I'm white and I'm upper middle class now. But joining the Marine Corps at 17, I was poor. I lived in a 2-bedroom, 700 square foot house. I wasn't given anything. I mean, I was on my own, and the best option I had was the Marine Corps, which ended up being okay. I mean, I liked to smash stuff when I was 17, so being a grunt was perfect. But I was incredibly toxic, right? Yeah. And then as you grow up and you have kids and you have a daughter and you see her interacting and you have, you know, my girlfriend has really educated me in our relationship about that because she's very intelligent and vocal about, I don't know if it's feminism, it's just like equality. Like, just value me as a person.
And her and I, like, we have a very, I don't want to say old school, but a very
Gender roles.
I'm the man.
We appreciate them a lot.
I'm the man, I'm the husband, she's the woman, she's the wife, and then we do certain things.
Yeah, and that
I don't like to cook.
Yeah.
She does.
See, I love to cook.
You see what I'm saying, though?
I tore it up the other night.
So you see what I'm saying? Like, we have a very, very good balance, but at the end of the day, I feel like, and this is something that I don't know, I don't know if I wasn't necessarily raised that way, but it's my belief of what a man is he is, like, in my opinion, this is Nick's opinion, he's the head of the household, he's the father figure.
Yeah, protector,
provider.
Sure.
And you have a responsibility to do those sort of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's...
Where I've seen those tables turn, though, is when the woman of the house becomes more successful, and there is a lot of jealousy. And that happens in the military when, like, you have dual military spouses, and the female partner actually is starting to get promoted ahead of the male partner.
Yeah.
Man, over my career, I've seen several instances where that starts unraveling really quick because it's like this ego thing. You know, it's the cultural understanding of what military in 2019 is, business in 2019 is, colleges in 2019 is.
Right.
I think where the frustration on at least like the guys who are like mad about the commercial and mad about those types of things, it's born out of frustration because there tends to be some differences in standards, right? And so I can sympathize with that, but you shouldn't hold the woman who's next to you accountable for that. Like,
right.
In the military, jobs are open up. It's gender neutral jobs now. I'm totally on board with that. By the way, I'm totally on board with it when I moved into my job, which when I was an instructor, we brought in females for the first time. And my coworkers, a lot of my coworkers were, banging the tables, and I'm like, man, in order to do this job, I think we need a little bit of a woman's touch. There's some finesse to this stuff.
And because in what you did, I'll tell you what, the ones that do it really well.
Yeah, and by the way, women, I think estrogen just provides that skill set.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I have to train men to do what women are born with.
Yeah.
Right? And so I saw that. I've always seen that as just added. Like the strength of a woman is not the same as a man, but that is the yin yang, and we shouldn't treat them because they can't bench press 350 pounds. You don't treat them with any less respect because they bear children and they keep us level and
that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like,
my thought process is like everybody's like, well, everything should be equal. We're not equal.
No,
but we're not different. It's just that we are different. We have different strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
But they complement each other.
Treat each other fairly.
Yes. And they complement each other. The one problem, I'll get into the one issue that I have with this, and then I have a feeling that you're gonna be on the same page as me. The one thing I did not like about that commercial was breaking the kids up fighting.
Oh yeah. That one was like, but I think what it was saying was I think when people saw that, it's like, no, that's kind of what we need in society right now, right? Because I can tell you, at least from having a 15-year-old son, I raise him, I would say, traditionally. Now, it's not hard. I've never hit him. I have a standard. He understands the standard, and I hold him to that
sometimes little
standard.
Fritz needs to get...
He's little Fritz, right? He's a little bit of a wild animal. But I try to manage that. One, I have to provide an example for him of what a good father is. And then when I make a mistake, I'll pull him aside and say, hey, I got a little hot-headed. That's part of my recovery mode, right? But I'm being masculine. I'm just not being toxic about it, because the other thing is men can be toxic to each other. And when they're toxic to each other, that is sometimes worse.
But the thing is, with that part of that commercial, with like breaking kids up from fighting. So when I was like, I was like 8 years old. Like I wasn't a tough kid. I wasn't a bully. Like obviously it's amazing what puberty will do and joining the military and going into special operations. But nonetheless, like as an 8-year-old, 7-year-old boy, my parents used to like say like, oh, he was such a sweet boy. And I was a sweet boy.
Sure.
And I was in Taos, New Mexico, and there was this Mexican kid, and here I am, the white boy in a new town, and this dude like hammered me every day. There came a point where something snapped in me, and next thing I know, he was on top of me, and the next thing I was on top of him on his back, and I was like pounding his head into the gravel.
Sure.
Principal, like that, we got broken up. You know, the fight did get broken up, and then we went into the principal's office. Now you'd have been expelled, and there would have been charges, and it would have been. So this principal sat at his desk, and this is before computers, so I don't know what he was doing at his desk, but what felt like for 4 hours, it was a desk like this, and then there was 2 chairs like this. He sat to my left, and I sat, and we didn't speak. The principal never said a word. It was not a lecture. He just went to work, and we sat there.
And you're like questioning everything.
I was like,
oh,
what the hell? And we finally started like looking at each other, and like we've got like nicks and like bruises all over our face, and we just like looked, and we started snickering, like, what is wrong with this guy?
And it worked.
And then as soon as we kind of started looking at each other and like snickering, like because it was so funny that we would just been sitting there for hours, he looked up, he said, "You two can go."
One of my best friends.
And that was it.
One of my best friends in the Marines, his teeth caused that scar on my knuckle right there. And it was a dumb, like really heated exchange. It was like 21-year-old dudes, middle of the night type thing.
Yeah.
We got into a scuffle. He's now working, I'll leave him nameless, but he's now working like State Department, like traveling overseas and doing all this cool stuff. And we're still 20 years later talking.
So me and that kid,
because we got over it.
For the rest of the school year, we're friends.
Yeah, sure.
So this kid picked on me and messed with me up until that point, and then we were friends the rest of the school year.
And then he knew. Like,
but that was the life lesson that I learned, to stand up for myself.
Yeah, sure.
You know, that was it. And then Johnny, you had...
Bad timing.
Johnny's over here drinking whiskey. You're so toxic.
Well, I wanted to know too,
in.
from your point, Johnny, because you're the youngest one of us, and we always make jokes, different era.
Yeah. So how old are you?
40.
You're 40, 37.
34.
You're so young.
I'm 25 going on 55.
25.
An
hard
old soul,
55.
if you will.
Yeah.
You
So
grew up
what-
different than us.
Man,
so how
your
is
chemicals haven't really settled yet.
That's what keeps me young.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's a
Look
coconut
at
oil.
this.
But you brought up
Go
a
ahead.
point about that.
how do you see this as somebody who grew up different timing than us? You weren't watching. Well, I mean, maybe you were, but like Indiana Jones wasn't on every day. You weren't watching like the same shows.
No, it was
the
like
same-
Cartoon Network. for
Conan
us.
wasn't your
Yeah.
go-to.
Yeah, not even DuckTales. Like,
No, that was like right before I was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love DuckTales.
I was born much older though, so like
Much older
that's
than
why
birth.
people. Yes, I was born at, I would say maybe 14. I was
Yeah.
born at 14 years. I don't know. I just matured quickly, but I just think the toxic part of the masculinity, like the phrase, I think that's just unnecessary. I think you can abuse anything in life, and masculinity and feminism is the same thing. You can abuse it, or you can just do it. So it's like, I think when they say toxic masculinity, I think they mean like abusive masculinity. I mean, assault, harassment, anything like catcalling, harassment. You know, like. So that's just how I was raised. I just don't see it as toxic when they say toxic. It was confusing to me. Like when I was watching the commercial.
well, it's a
I was
made-up
thinking,
term. I mean, that wasn't a term, I think,
Until-
a year and a half
yeah.
ago or something.
Well, I think it
2 years,
started-
I think, is when it's
There was something in
kind
the
of
80s
started.
that started it. Started the abusive masculinity type marches and walks and all that stuff, and then it got re-triggered recently. But I think it comes down to just respect.
Well, I clearly remember the Clarence Thomas hearings when I was a kid. Like, I remember my parents watching it, and that was the first time I think really on the national stage on, like, it was CNN, I think, at the time. It was like the only big news network. And you're sitting there watching, like, I didn't know who Clarence Thomas was. I had no idea really what was going on politically. I just was like, if he did what she said he did, that's wrong. And then I think that's where,
Which is
and then
common
it kind of
sense.
got, and then it kind of got quiet for a while,
Yeah.
and then now it's an issue, clearly an issue.
But now I think it's
Well,
like,
we're in the information age now, too.
if I
right?
say something that offends you, people are so quick to label it
Yeah.
about what I did to you, even though
Oh, yeah.
miscommunication, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden I'm now toxic. Yeah, I just think it's What were you saying?
Yes. What was your? But you had a specific opinion as well as about the fighting from a 25-year-old. Like, what was your? Yeah, we had a whole conversation about it. So, what is your opinion on the fighting?
On the fighting, I think it shouldn't have been broken up. I think, I mean, you can even take it to science, like survival of the fittest. We all learn through mistakes. We all learn through. I mean, I may have been a bully when I was a kid. I may have been bullied. You know, it doesn't matter either way. I learned, and I'm who I am now. But if my parents got in on that, I think my first fight, and I know Mom's watching this. Mama sucks at watching. My first fight I got into, I was a soccer practice, and I got into this little fist fight with this kid, and I told my mom, and I was so scared to tell her. I didn't have a bruise on my face, so.
Did the other guy?
Yeah. So my mom, she said, "Did you win?" And I was just like, I mean, I think so. And she was like, "Good." But she could have gotten really involved in it, and me and that kid were fine, afterwards, because that was what
I remember what you
that's
were saying.
what my opinion.
Marine Corps.
We just triggered
The barracks room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the armory.
Yeah.
So if you have a problem with a guy, which I'm sure anybody can relate to, but if you have a problem with a guy, you just go in a room and figure it out. Just you two men enter, 2 men leave. Hopefully, but you figure it out. Whether it's talking, fighting, arguing, crying, hugging it out, whatever it needs to be, but you leave there as 2 men. You don't, you can be bickering, whatever.
Yeah, just squash it.
We used to call it like you go into the tree line.
The tree line. That was a thing when I was in, so I'm not that young. We still did.
So we did, like, 2 guys would have an issue, be like, okay, take your ass to the tree line, figure it out, and then come back, brothers again.
Yeah.
And it works. It works.
It works.
I remember, so real quick to go back to the fight, right? I don't know if the fight, I think everybody agrees that the kids should have been fighting out, but the dad saying, boys will be boys, when you do say that to young kids, they think that anything they do as a boy is okay.
It's like you get a pass.
You get a pass. Oh, you get to punch each other. What the real thing is like, if our kids got in a fight, look at them scrap, and then we take them aside and we all sit down and go, okay, now look, guys, did you get it out of your system? And then you teach them conflict resolution, or you teach them proper communication, because they're also learning too.
Right.
Little kids.
I like what we did in high school when 2 guys would one guy would screw up or one guy would act stupid. They put the anchor rope around.
Oh yeah.
And then you have to basically you get stuck with this guy that you're having a problem with.
Yeah.
And you have this 100-pound rope around your neck that you're tied to, and you have to go everywhere with this guy.
Well, when I was in high school, I was in Sea Cadets. I was in a program, Sea Cadets, United States Naval Sea Cadets, and this is like the early 90s. So there were fights, believe it or not, there were fights and stuff. Kids being kids. And our CO was an active duty Marine major, and what he would do is have us wash the opposite sides of windows for like hours, just staring at each other.
That's good.
That's
right?
really good.
That's old school, right?
Yeah.
It's not abusive. It's getting something done, and for hours you're just staring at each other,
and waving
which
to the
is-
other person.
and you just start laughing.
Which is
and you're
exactly
like-
what that principal did. to
and
me
you're
in
like, that was the dumbest thing. It was just dumb, and now we're over it, and then you
That's
learn,
good, though.
right?
Yeah.
But if you
Because
had
you're
it,
mimicking the other person, so
Yeah.
you realize psychologically.
that was like
you
one of
and
the.
that
But
person
we've
are the
gotten
same.
totally away from that.
Yeah.
Now it's you're abusing that kid because you're making that kid feel bad. How is that kid gonna live when they're
How
adults?
are you when you grow up, you're gonna be a bubble boy. You need conflict in your life when you're learning.
Everybody
to grow up.
does.
Everybody needs a version.
And everybody needs somebody to be
Right,
better and older and wiser and have walked that path to say, hey, okay, you got it out of your system now. Nobody's perfect. Nobody comes out of the womb the perfect person that will not offend anybody. That
Well,
like you were all.
being perfect would offend somebody though.
But being perfect
So,
would offend
yeah,
somebody,
it's
right?
impossible.
Going back to 25-year-old Fritz, do you feel like 25-year-old Fritz was a man, a true man?
No. I mean, 25-year-old Fritz thought he was. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same with me.
Yeah, I was
25-year-old Nick thought
Staff Sergeant in the Marine Corps.
I was, exactly.
Sniper.
Force recon.
Just had a little boy.
Yeah.
Made my boy. Ooh,
I was manly.
I'm going to war.
But was I a man?
Yeah. And there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
There's a
and
lot.
that's-
There's a misconception of
That's
what
where
manhood
I
actually
think
is.
that's where I think the commercial was trying. Their intent behind
get to
it
that point.
was to get to explain listen guys,
Yeah.
be be your father.
I
Be
think
your,
everybody
be your grandfather.
who got the commercial
Just be better.
is at that point though,
Just be better.
which was confusing.
Right.
People who got upset and made it viral
Are still
Yeah, they're on-
25-year-old.
Yeah, they're on the other side,
Yeah.
or they didn't have the right upbringing, so they're being offended by it automatically.
Or they're easily
They're-
influenced and
yeah.
they just got on the bandwagon.
Or this is
I
the
don't
only
know.
way
I
they get
think
their
there's
information.
something to be said for the fact that, like, okay, so I raised boys. There's something to be said for the fact that, like, our culture does want to wash out a patriarchy, if you will. They want to wash out, like, yes, women can do anything, and I 100% believe that. But I don't think that, like, pussifying men
New word.
is maybe the way to do it. So I don't think that this commercial, for instance, all the ways they were showing toxic masculinity, I don't think that's, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with the way that they were showing that this is wrong. Like, I do believe those things are wrong.
Yeah.
But as a whole, like, telling men that are boys that they can't act out some of the urges that they have, whether it be at a young age, like they feel guilty for looking at a girl, or they
Maybe,
feel,
again, I think that part of the message is just, it's very visual when the boys are fighting, and then it was that quick snippet of the father saying, boys will be boys. It was like a very quick, and if they had reversed that message right there in that clip, where it's like, it's not okay to just give everybody a ticket because they're letting out. Like, they should have showed, they could show the right example too. And that's maybe why guys are getting offended by or getting mad, or just generally disagree with the message, because they're like, well, we're not all bad. We may have made a lot of mistakes and had some,
Right.
transgressions in your past, and you learn from them and you move on. It's called life.
and they need to be guided. They definitely need to be
guided.
guided. But, like, if we're gonna really talk about, like, my biggest issue with the whole thing with feminism is that I don't like, as a whole, that they want to identify themselves so separately. And then the issues that are currently with the fourth wave feminists that are, like, coming out have to do with mostly sexual abuse, sexual, harassment and things like that. And let's be clear, that's illegal. It's
Still
still illegal.
Yeah, it
to
always
rape
has been,
people,
always
to
will be.
do
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, that stuff we get that. That's not allowed. No one's saying, yes, men should be allowed to rape. No, we're not saying that. But, like,
Nothing has changed.
I like to look at it like
Yeah.
women are part of mankind. I don't look at it like I want it to be that, like, I'm separate from you or anything. I look at us as a human race, right?
Well, yeah.
Ultimately, true feminist, like somebody who really, really believes that all people can do anything and are creative, equal, and all that stuff, believe that we are mankind, okay? And that this isn't about, like, yes, women fought for us to have the rights that we have and got us to this place, and I am so thankful for that. But now, for us to keep vilifying boys and men,
also called fibroiditis, is caused by intestinal gas, which is either swallowed with
Wow. Alexa, shut up. Alexa.
We're
Shut
not
up.
even talking about intestinal gas.
Jesus Christ.
I don't like the way that our culture is choosing to vilify men in order to get this agenda across. I don't
Yeah.
like that. I don't feel like little girls making little boys feel like there's something wrong with them because they like them is okay. Like, and
Yeah,
I've seen
sure.
that, like, raising little boys.
Sure,
I
yeah.
remember my youngest was small and he liked this little girl, and, like, he just liked her. You know what I mean? And he didn't really know how to get that across or whatever. And I remember thinking, like, she was being mean to him because he was, like, interested in her and, all the stuff. And, like, I don't want to have little boys that feel like they're dirty or something wrong with them
Sure.
because they like a little girl or something. And yes, there's obviously behaviors that we have to, like, instill in our kids of appropriate behaviors and what's right and wrong. But I'm like, as a whole, like, to create this message, like, let's talk about female behavior. Let's talk about the way that, like, women act at parties.
Well-
Let's talk about the way that, like, you want to get up on a high horse about the way you want to be treated and all this stuff. But But honestly, the biggest thing that offended me about that commercial was the fact that they said boys will be boys, because it's like, what, so women can't fight? Why are we giving that, like,
I know.
I mean,
That's
like,
okay.
I know that women can fight.
like
Yeah, yeah.
I like seeing
Especially
little
my wife.
girls.
I think every grown man knows and is fearful of the woman in their life.
100%.
If you're not scared of your wife or girlfriend or anything,
I'm scared of mine.
you're not grown up yet.
That's why I'm just flying over here. That's when I look at him.
Whiplash.
I don't want that message to be the one that resonates with children as they're growing up in this culture, that in order to be like socially accepted, you need to jump on a feminist agenda to like vilify men for behaviors that some women are making up. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes has happened. But let's be honest, this stuff is still illegal. You're not allowed to sexually harass people in the workplace. They'll get fired.
You're not allowed to assault people. Right.
That's not okay.
Yeah.
So like the things that they're speaking out about in this fourth wave of feminism, and they're trying to get people to jump on board with, like, I'm just not down with it. Not with a pussy hat on your head.
Well,
Sorry.
it's. I get it. I just think where it polarizes, right? So I think everybody's forgetting the golden rule, right? Like, treat others as you want to be treated. Just know that you need to understand how to be treated, right? And that's what, like, getting more intelligent, and having more empathy, and having more context, and seeing the other person's side, and knowing what a minority goes through. I mean, I'm a 40-year-old middle-aged white man. I don't have any white guilt, but I sure as hell know that I don't have the same issues that a lot of people do.
Right.
Just because I walk in the store and I'm dressed with a collared shirt, people don't give me a second look, right? That isn't the same for a lot of people out there. The majority, right? But what happens is people get into this thing called confirmation bias, where they have this bias. Maybe something happened to them as an individual. Somebody does something that represents that, and there's, see, I knew they would do that.
I knew I was right.
I knew I was right. See, I told you so.
But
Right, that is the worst.
That goes back to like personal growth, like not letting things grow, not growing, not learning.
Yeah.
Like you're just stuck.
Don't have an impulsive emotional response.
Your perspective is just off.
Yeah, just don't have an
And
impulsive emotional
People
response.
have different ways of like, okay, yes, I've been sexually harassed. I've been sexually assaulted. I've had people fuck with me. That's all stuff that's real. I know that that's real, and I'm not saying that that's not real for people. But do I think that all men are the same demon, and then I'm going to get that from all of you? Or am I going to take no? And also, like, maybe that's your
What,
struggle,
Johnny?
and that's something you.
Oh,
Maybe that's your struggle, and then maybe that's something that you've dealt with, and maybe you've dealt with it again
Sure.
and again. But again, this does not mean that like we need to separate ourselves as a culture and create this like back and forth with like our own people, our own like.
I mean,
It's like a civil war with mankind.
let's talk about the Illuminati.
culturally. Well, it's 330
You brought
million
it up.
people. 330 million people spread across 50 different states. I mean, we're not France. France
Right.
is like what, 50 million people. I can drive across it faster than I can drive across Texas.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like in those really homogeneous environments, it's easier to tackle social issues faster than 330 million people. I mean, you cut
Very
that.
diverse.
Very
330
diverse.
million people.
Very
the
diverse.
Most diverse.
The most diverse in the world.
So, yeah.
Anybody who's traveled knows that.
So with this commercial, you guys got to keep in mind, like just to wrap it up, there's a new CEO of Gillette.
Okay.
Young guy.
So I think he's at late 20s, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. So he had just came on board, and I don't know all the facts about this, but
Good for him.
this is what I came across. This was his initiative to get
Change
in
the target demographic.
change the target demographic to a younger demographic.
Sure.
So because Gillette had all the older men, they've had late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s for decades,
Yeah.
right? What they didn't have was the Johnnies and
Yeah, sure.
and below,
They
and
still don't.
teenagers, the little Fritzes.
Yeah.
They didn't have them. Gillette is an older man's brand, and what he just did was sucked in all of the
Well, you know,
all of
Involved
the
them.
involved all of the young men, and now that video is 22 million more than any of their other commercials ever.
Yeah.
You can say it was like, you can say it's about masculinity or attacking this or that.
They did exactly what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
They
Sure.
did what they set out to do.
Yeah.
And they did. And how much money did they lose?
0. They lost no money. It actually says
All the people that said, I'm
I was
quitting
just gonna
Gillette.
ask. I was just gonna ask. Has anyone checked their profit?
I did.
margins?
So they didn't. They put this out. It says sales haven't budged since the ad came out, but the goal of connecting with the younger groups has been achieved.
Well done, sir.
Yeah, well done.
Well done.
Growth.
Growth.
And we live in 2019 in America at the tip of humanity. Like, let's see what that's for. Like, let's get better.
Yeah.
And
what
yeah,
did they
that's
portray?
exactly right. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying to people, like, let's be better at being parents. Let's be better at being fathers. Like that, I agree with
I think it's
100%.
Better at being people.
Yes,
Yeah,
let's
human
be better
beings,
humans,
yeah.
mankind
Golden
across
rule.
The
the
commercial
board.
Golden
portrayed
rule.
positivity
Yeah.
other than bullying.
And growth.
But in growth, positivity, and I mean, there was nothing negative saying men suck.
No.
Like there was nothing in there.
So what do you think?
Holster your keyboards.
No, unholster your keyboards.
Now you can
Now
get
you can
mine.
unholster.
Censor your keyboards. Think
And
about
then-
it before you type.
And then, think about it before you type, and then let us know in the comments what you think. As always, support the Harbor site. Follow us on Instagram. Everybody's lower thirds. Check us out. But let us know what you guys want to know and what your thoughts are.
I did a really great article on why I'm not a fourth wave
We'll link that.
feminist.
I was going to say we'll link that below. And a podcast,
So
right?
then you can like rip me to shreds with like all the other feminists.
She
I'm
loves
not
it.
a good feminist.
She
so.
loves it. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for your support. And tune in next week where we're talking about veteran suicide.
Sure.
Yeah. Have a nice day.